Welcome to another episode of Whitetail Rendezvous, coming to you 6 days a week as we interview whitetail experts and hear their traditions and personal stories of the hunt. Learn more about the latest gear, discover proven tips, and the latest strategies so you can make your next hunt a success. Now, here's your host, Bruce Hutchin.
Welcome to another episode of Whitetail Rendezvous. This is a special Iowa Deer Classic promotion with Whitetail Institute, Daryl Cherry, who is the Director of Sales. Daryl, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Well, it's exciting, and I got to talk to Steve this morning, and he said there's been some things going around at Whitetail Institute, and there have been some changes. So why don't you just bring us up to speed when Whitetail Institute started and what the future looks like?
Well, Whitetail Institute was originally started by Ray Scott, Steve, that you speak of, his father, and back in 1988 on just a dream and a vision that he had to grow bigger whitetails and give them through the proper nutrition to maximize their genetic potential via nutrition. He teamed up with some scientists and started engineering. Originally, it was our Clover. That was our flagship product, even to this day. That's where we got our start. And then, as you know, it's over the course of the last 30 years, it's morphed into where it is today. And this category in our industry is continuing to grow and just booming. And thanks to people like you and the trade shows and whatnot for getting it out to the public and allowing them to become better land stewards and managers of their own private herds on their leases or land that they may own. And we have stuck to what got us here, which is our research and development. Our slogan is research equals results, and we firmly believe in that. Some changes that have gone on in the past few months. Back on October the 1st, we were acquired by Pradco Outdoor Brands. Some of their lines that you might be familiar with are Moultrie, Night and Hail, Summit Deer Stands, Code Blue Deer Scents, just to name a few. We were the second acquisition that they made in the year of 2018, along with Trophy Hunter Products. That's a feeder company based out of Texas. Excited to be part of that team. They've got some good stuff working over there. Plans to grow all the brands, and as one solid unit, but all the while keeping the focus on what got Whitetail Institute where we are today with the success we've had, which is our research and development, along with the customer service that we've always prided ourselves in providing. We have a biologist on staff that is there answering calls. We have a knowledgeable sales team in and out of the office. Someone can call our office at any time and go in and get all the questions they needed answered. And it's not just our sales team that's answering the phones. You wouldn't be surprised to dial into the office and Wilson or Steve may answer the phone. So you literally could be talking to, one of the sales guys, the biologist, or one of the previous owners. I mean, it's always been like that. And, everybody wants to chip in and do their part. It really is a lot about knowledge and trying to train people and educate people. And thanks to several multimedia channels nowadays, it's a whole lot easier than it used to be. But there's still a lot of information out there to get to the public. And we're trying every day to get better at that, as well as develop the best food plot seed and nutritional supplements that we can provide.
One thing in the warm-up we talked about, and I want to underscore this because, it's now February. People are thinking about, okay, I got to buy some seed and I'll get the seed at a big box store. I'll get it here at a co-op or wherever. What I'm getting at is the importance of being able to read a tag and understand what that tag says. Because if you have coatings on your seed, that can take up to 20% of actually the weight of the whole bag. So you take that off at 25 pounds, all of a sudden that's 5 pounds of coating. Wait a minute. Is that a true statement, Steve, or is that just law I picked up along the way?
No, that's not a true statement. It is one that, you hear a lot of, you can read all over the internet and you might hear other podcasts that, with a guest on there that might talk about seed coatings and why they're bad, they're fillers and such, but they're there for a reason. There are nutrient packets and inoculants and various things in those seed coatings, and the seed coating is there to provide a binder for those products to the seed. And they definitely, these are things that help germination. They help survivability of the young plants. So no, it's not an attempt. Seed coating is not an attempt to say, hey, let's cheat the customer by, bulking out this thing. And reading these tags, you think that you're reading, you see percentages and you think this and that. One thing that the public doesn't really know and they're not really told is what you see and think is not exactly the true number that you're thinking that you're looking at if you're talking about percentages and various things like that. Because when you get into clovers and some of these small seeds, people don't really understand how many seeds per pound are in clover and, most of your brassicas and stuff like that compared to something like wheat or oats or rye or something, your bigger type seeds or peas and stuff like that. So while, it's important to look at the tag and it's okay to read it, but really that's something that we have to put up there for regulatory purposes for various things the states look for and that kind of stuff. And, but to your original question, just because it's got a seed coating does not mean that any company, not just Whitetail Institute, is trying to pull the wool over someone's eyes and give them less seed. There is a reason for that seed coating. We have on our lagoons, we have inoculates in there. Large percentage of our coated seed, we have what we call rain bond, and it's a coating that helps with seedling survivability. When you've got a new seed, any moisture gets trapped in the rain bond, and it keeps it around the seed itself. So if a lot of times a guy could go out there and plant, he could get a quick rain, or there might be some moisture in the soil, but then it dries out. Well, if that seed starts to germinate and you don't get any more rain and it becomes dehydrated, it could die. Well, the point of this seed coating is it's going to hold some moisture around that plant, that new seedling that's trying to get going, just as a little bit of insurance policy, if you will, to help it kind of get going and survive, maybe a little bit of time without some rainfall on it to, give it that extra boost. It's good. It doesn't last forever. I mean, nobody's going to have that where it's not foolproof, but it does have its place. So, to your question, seed coating is not a bad thing.
So what is a good thing? And help me out and help my listeners, because there is a lot of information out there that people say, oh, no, you shouldn't have this. And in my comment, I said, sometimes you go to a big box store and you don't get the percentage of seed that you thought. So, if I'm buying 10 pounds of seed, how much of it is really seed and then fillers and all the other things that you hear about?
You're going to see a percentage on the back of the bag, and it's going to vary. So, to give you a straight answer as to you're getting this amount of seed versus this is kind of hard, because it all depends on it really depends on the seed variety that's in the bag. All of our seeds are mixes, and most of our competitors are the same way. They're going to have multiple seed varieties. So trying to pinpoint, well, you're getting this amount, you're getting this, is nearly impossible, for a consumer to stand there in the store and calculate. And, you mentioned a box store, we're selling the same seed to a box store that we're selling to anyone else in our Whitetail Institute mixes. So don't hold it against the box store that, you're getting cheated because you're buying it at a big box. Some companies make different varieties for this and that, but, we're not putting something in the bag for a box store that's different than what we're putting in a bag for an independent dealer either.
No, on your website, does it have a breakdown of the tags?
No, we do not list the actual seed tags on the website. Like I said, a guy can go down a rabbit hole with those seed tags because he doesn't really, what he thinks he's reading is accurate, in, simple math numbers and percentages isn't exactly how it all equates out when you start talking about why this seed might look like it's, got a smaller percentage. For example, if you were going to mix brassica and oats in a mix, we have a mix that has that in it. Well, there's less seed per pound in oats than there are brassica. So you're going to have a smaller percentage appearance on that tag than you are the oats. However, when that guy goes out there and plants, there's so many more seeds per pound in a brassica, the coverage is going to take place. It's all about seeds per square foot, that a pound can cover. So it's not necessarily, not that I can't reiterate that it's not that anybody's trying to fool it. It's just that the general public, doesn't necessarily know the seeds per pound and how those percentages are come up with. I mean, I would encourage you, if you want to see, go Google how many pounds of seed is in a pound of clover. It would blow your mind. I can't remember the exact number off the top of my head, but you would never in your wildest dreams have any idea that there's that many seeds in 1 pound of clover.
I think it's thousands, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, it's thousands. Yes, sir. So, I mean, it's, your general public, they're not going to have that knowledge just off the top of their head, and nor really should they. It's just something that, seed growers and the food plot companies, we know that because that's what, that's one of the things that goes into us making a successful mix, and it, is not competing with itself out in the field. I mean, it's, one of the questions that we get all the time is, I'm going to mix this bag of clover and I'm going to mix this bag of turnips together because that's the two things that I want out in the field. And we beg them not to because we've already calculated what the coverage rate is. It's not just the matter of, well, I want to mix them and I'll be good to go. It just isn't that simple because what tends to happen is, guys get out there and they overseed and they end up crowding out the plant. Plants are starving each other because they're competing too much with each other. We see that a lot with all grades of seeds. And brassica is probably one of the most noticed ones when you see a guy that's gone out there and he's overseeded his brassica. We told him that 3 pounds would plant a half an acre. Well, man, more is better. So I'm going to put 6 pounds out. Well, that doesn't mean it's not going to come up, but you're going to have a field full of tiny brassicas because they're not going to be able to, there's not enough nutrients there. They're all robbing from each other. There's not enough space to be able to grow. I mean, think about the timber industry when they go in and thin the trees so that the trees can have more room to grow to get bigger diameter and such. Well, the same goes for your, like a brassica. It needs room to grow. It can't starve for nutrients. There's only so many nutrients in the soil that they can take up. And if you've got 5 plants competing for the same amount of nutrients because you overseeded it, well, you're not going to get the result that you're hoping for.
That's great. And I thank you for that 10 minutes because there is a lot of, I hate to use the word misinformation, but even in my case, I said, well, because you have this, you have that, and that's not true. And so, folks, here's what I'd say. Find somebody that knows their business, that is just not selling seed, taking seed in, selling it out. Go to somebody like Whitetail Institute. There's other great companies out there, but go to Whitetail Institute, spend time on them, and then call them up and say, hey, here's what I got. I've already done my soil test. I know what my pH is. I know all these things. So I'm ready to go. And what do you think? The right companies with the right products and the right people are going to steer you the right way because they want you to have a yield. They want the bucks to come in and the does to come in and the fawns to be healthy. And then all of a sudden you get a healthy deer herd. Then you're going to say, hey, that worked out really well. Well, then they got a customer. And then other people are going to see your plots and say, how did that happen? That's why Monsanto and back in, I forget the decob corn and everything. If you travel throughout the Midwest, you see these huge food plots. What they are is they're test plots. I call them food plots, but they're test plots. And they're perfect. I mean, they're just perfect. And you go, wow, because you see how tall they are or how robust they are, how green they are, or whatever. And so, that's what food plots should be, because you want people to take a look, and you have done a good job. So at Whitetail Institute, how do people get hold of you guys?
They can go to our website at www.whitetailinstitute.com, or they can give us a call at 800-688-3030. And we'd be, like I said earlier, we've got people, and to your point you were just making, Bruce, we've got people, and obviously we want to sell our seed to everybody that we can. But, if people have a food plot question, and maybe they're not, we do get these calls. Maybe they're not planting our stuff, but they have a question. Well, we want to encourage them to call just as much as somebody that's prepared to buy our seed, because, this is when you're going out there to make a food plot, it can be intimidating, to a lot of guys. You're asking a regular everyday guy to honestly kind of be a farmer all of a sudden, and there's a lot that goes into it. And our goal is for everybody to have successful food plots and to help them out. And if they're not buying our seed right now, maybe we help them, and we give them, our help gets them a successful food plot. And we hope that they remember that, and they say, you know what, they gave me the help that I needed, and I'm going to give those guys a shot next year. I was already planning on buying this year. So, we don't want people to feel like that if they call our customer service that we're going to say, hey, if you're not buying seed, we're not going to talk to you about it. We want to talk to you. We want to, help you out, because we want everybody to be as successful as they can be when they go out on this venture.
Well said. What's your connection with Iowa Deer Classic?
That's a show that we exhibit at most every year, and it's a good show for us. It's right there in the heart of big buck country, as everybody knows and dreams of. But it's a good show. A lot of the consumer shows are good shows where we have a dealer and distributor network out there, but it's an option to where we're able to come face to face with the public, if you will, and they're able to hopefully come to our booth and hopefully buy something, but they're able to pick our brains right there on the spot. And, we've got the seed right there. So sometimes, some people like that face-to-face contact versus a phone call or a chat over online. And so, it gives that opportunity, and us displaying there supports the entire growth of the outdoor industry, as well as all the other great vendors that, that show up there to support the Classic. And it's a good show, and it's always a good turnout. And we look forward to supporting those guys every year.
Again, how do people get in touch with you, Daryl?
They can go to our website, www.whitetailinstitute.com, or they can call in toll free at 1-800-688-3030.
Now, to me, deer hunting 365. So I'm either, helping the deer with cover, I'm helping the deer with food, watching the deer progress through the year, then trail cameras, then hunting, and then the whole cycle. Again, where should we be right now in the food plot cycle of the year? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And, really there's not a whole lot you can be doing right now. I mean, a large part of the country is still potentially under snow, it's cold. We are quickly approaching what we call frost seeding. A lot of guys will go out and they'll frost seed clover and chicory in the spring. It's a very effective method of seeding. And whether you're doing it on frozen ground or snow even, that's coming up quick. And, whether you're frost seeding new ground or frost seeding over an existing plot, just to kind of help, especially these plots that, up north that can kind of take a beating as, in a hard winter, you're going to lose some plants, and the deer are going to eat it down to basically nothing trying to find food. So it's a good time of the year. Right now, aside, we hang our hat on the food plot side of things and that development, but we do offer nutritional supplements also. And now's a good time to be feeding your deer, whether it be a pelleted feed or some of the other, like our Thrive, it's a feed that we developed and came out with last year, just to keep these deer healthy. The healthier that they can come out of winter and into spring, the less buildup that they're going to have to do to start antler growth. You want your does to come out as healthy as they can, obviously, because they're raising the next generation of deer, the less stress you can put them under. So supplemental feeding right now is a good thing, with a good feed, and check your labels on that. Look for the right components that are going to be needed to get them through to come out healthy. And right around the corner too, it'll be time to transition from your winter feeding, so to speak, to going into spring and rolling right over into mineral supplementation to kind of support your bucks and their antler growth, and not to forget about the does. Just as important as they drop their fawns, the mineral supplements, they really help with doe lactation also. So it's not just about building the bone on top of that deer's head. It's just as much of building healthier fawns. You have a higher survival rate, and just healthier deer in general. There's a lot of talk about diseases and, various kinds these days. And, one thing to keep in mind, and, there's a lot of other people in the industry, that are screaming this type of message too, is a healthier deer is going to be able to, if you will, fight off, potential diseases or survive, the survival rate, some of these diseases they don't have a cure for, anything like that. But just like a human, a healthier human is able to withstand more than an unhealthy. So, if you're really trying to manage your herd, just the objective of keeping them healthy year round will pay off, in your long-term goal.
And just something about the health of the herd. A friend of mine, Joseph Fire, just wrote a book, Zombie Deer and Broadtime Buck. And he had a 5-acre honey hole near the swamp in rural suburban setting, if I could say that. So you got a swamp, you got food, then you got houses, and you got roads. Well, he put mineral out there all year round. And guess what? The 2 deer that made it through EHD, with the 2 deer he was feeding, and he killed it. And, he harvested it and it was fine. It was a huge deer, 6.5 years old. His running mate was a 10-point. They both were, 170 class deer and above. And all the other deer, they would find them in the rivers or they find them in the marsh and they could smell them dead in the marsh. But those 2 deer made it. Anecdotal information, but it just goes along with they had the best minerals in their body to fight that disease, and they survived.
And that's a good point. I mean, and that's exactly what we're telling customers, and and there's some other good companies out there that are telling the same. And that's the word that we all need to be sending to consumers, if you will, that there's no magic bullet, if you will, that's going to heal, and but again, it goes back to a healthier deer and a healthier herd is they're stronger when it comes time to fight off an ailment or whatever they might come in contact with. So
folks, become a 365 hunter, but become a 365 steward. And they're one and the same, really. They're entirely one and the same, because if you take good care of your deer, then you're going to have some pretty exciting times come the fall. Guaranteed. I live it myself. I'm on the farm that I hunt. And every year I can't wait to get and mix it up with some mature bucks. And more times than not, they win, but that's okay. I don't have any problem with that. But they're there. This year we had 4 mature bucks. We killed one of them. I had the other one in front of me and I didn't shoot him, but that's okay. And then the other 2 we never saw. So 50%, I guess that's pretty good. But having said that, Daryl Cherry, thank you so much for representing Whitetail Institute on this promo for Iowa Deer Classic. Folks, if you're within 500 miles of Des Moines, Iowa, go to Iowa Deer Classic. There's some great people. My good friend Art Highland's going to be there. Own the Season TV. Lee and Tiffany are the headliners. They're going to be there. So if you ever want a chance to at least get their autograph, hear them, see them, show up. There's people throughout the country that are going to be there, and Whitetail Institute's going to be there with a double booth, I think, right? Do you get a double booth? Or
I believe that's correct, but don't hold me to the fire on that.
Don't hold me to it. Don't hold me to it. But anyway, it's been great, Daryl, and thank you so much for being a guest on Whitetail Rendezvous.
Well, thank you for all you're doing. It was an honor. I appreciate it. hope everyone comes out and attends the show and stops by the Whitetail Institute booth and gives us a few minutes of your time.
Thanks for joining us. Be sure to tune in tomorrow for another episode of Whitetail Rendezvous, where you can listen and learn from the experts so you can be more successful on your next hunt. Until next time, listen, learn, and succeed.